There's a reoccurring theme here, and it's overcoming fear. From talking to you about your childhood, doing the Passion, doing this, now Great Whites, now the Bible. We talked. You'd brought up organ harvesting, and that's something I wasn't. I didn't realize that we were going to get into that. Is that in the film? Did we talk about that in the film?
No. It doesn't go into that.
Okay.
We don't go into that.
Okay.
We go into the trafficking part of it. It's the going into what I had to look at to get to where I needed to go. So I have many agents that I've worked in 30 years of my career that trust me, that have worked with me. And when I was reading the script, I wanted to know about Tim Ballard. How is all of this true? Yes. Okay. So then working with people that could give me information that could make this screenplay a lot deeper. And going through that is where I got in it was beyond how bad this really is.
So you really wanted to understand every aspect of what's going on before.
So I did a movie called Frequency and got to see things I couldn't believe. Just seeing a person that's dead and how they die and what it looks like is fascinating. And then how jaded these guys are when they stick Bengay in their noses and go into a room and you can taste stench. I mean, you can taste it. I worked on a farm at Hanford, California, and my job was to get the cattle in the chutes, and the vets would put these vaccinations in them, and every now and then one of these big heifers would die, so we'd tie wire around their hooves and drag them out. And it was so hot when we went back the next day, the stench was beyond anything. Now you put human beings in there, and so so when I go and do a film, you playing these guys, you get to see what they're like. You get to see how they talk. And one guy's eating a sandwich while that stench is in the room and doesn't even bug him. One of my buddies was pulling something out of a river, and it was just horrid. And he's eating a bagel with cream cheese in it, and his locks. He's just, he's like, "Are you kidding me? You're eating right now?" He goes, "I'm hungry." But that's so important, because you can't. That's stuff that you got to put in the screenplay. That has to be there, and you kind of understand who they are, where they've been, and everything. And I always go to mass and I pray and everything, and I'm always looking at a corpus on a cross, and eventually, my life, unlike you, I know I'm gonna die someday, but we all are gonna die, right? So, I wanted the people to have the most real experience that they could have on the screen to a certain point, And then the other balance is when you walk out of this film, your heart's on fire. This thing's unbelievable. It's an incredible movie. So we can't show you all that stuff that I've seen, but I can take you right to the edge, Alfred Hitchcock, and to understand how real it is. And one of the big things I was going through is Tim couldn't keep any of these agents for long because it was so bad with kids. And so there's a scene in there. So the stuff that I did get to see that made me weep, I started thinking about that. And so what we did, and for those of you who are going to see this movie and don't want to know about this part, then shut your tell them. But we were shooting this, and I had this idea where we took the camera, and this particular scene, you don't see it, but this video, this man goes over and rapes this little girl. And
How old?
7. And you don't see it in the film, but you see him start to make the move. And then I asked the DP not to tell Alejandro, the director, this, but I asked him shoot. So I took the video monitor and moved it into my eyeball so you could see my iris. So the eyeball is, 20 feet in a movie theater, and you see it start to sweat, and you don't know, you can't quite make out what's going on. And then the eyeball, from what I'd seen, and the screaming is the hardest thing.
The sound of it.
So the sound of freedom, there's a sound that you hear from these little ones that is so horrific that you will never forget it. And for 2 years, I could never forget it. I had a friend of mine that came to my house, and in the morning, she's weeping, and she came over, her name Debbie. She was hugging me. Why? I said, "What's wrong?" "You were bawling." Really? What was I doing? So I had been sleeping, and I go to this dark place. My body had to process this out in my dreams. And a lot of them I don't remember. But I had to pray deeply. But it motivated me to want to get these sons of bitches. And this is where I say it's the only unforgivable sin. They don't deserve to live any longer what they've done. Jesus says, better a millstone be hung around their necks, that they be cast into the sea, that you should ever hurt one of these little ones. So the film is fantastic that way. It's powerful. It's no studio can make this film. This is the movie they don't want you to see, and especially the devil doesn't want you to see this. But when you are done, people don't get up from the theater. They sit like they did in The Passion, like they did in Schindler's List. You cry. You're going to laugh. You're going to do all this stuff, but there's a huge adventure. Be on the edge of your seat. But eventually, when enough people walk out of this, they're going to start looking at, wait a minute. This Miss Rodas on April 26 gave testimony, sworn testimony, that 85,000 children disappeared across the border. Just disappeared. Where did they go? And then you start wondering, wait a minute. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Public is now going, hey, 3-letter agencies, what do you really know about what's going on here? And I think most Americans are waking up to the fact they know what the hell is going on.
How long did you immerse yourself in that environment to understand understand how profound this problem is?
1 day.
It only took 1 day.
No, on that part, 1 day. Not even that. Just, I couldn't take it. But I had to understand what he was going through. And I didn't know it was going to go there. It was more like, are you sure you want to go further than this? And I saw this movie a long time ago called Silent Scream. They were saying the baby in the womb screams when they tear it apart. They pull it out. That was hard to watch. And from that point on, I was always pro-life after seeing that. But the difference is, on the outside, you get to hear him scream. And now the only way to combat that is to get them And so my weapon is acting. My weapon is film. And I can use that and be the voice in that film through Tim and from God coming in. And it's a most important film since the Passion of the Christ. These are films that will never be forgotten. I remember when Tim came down and asked me how it was going, and I said, we have lightning in a bottle. Well, you think it's gonna come out? No, it's taken us several years to get this thing out. And the devil didn't want this one out, but too late now.
What kind of deterrence did you encounter during this film? It was like I had a friend of mine that survived Immaculate Ilibagiza. She survived Rwanda. She said for 12 weeks she was living in a bathroom, and they killed over 1 million people in a short period of time. I wouldn't say it's that, but before Rwanda occurred, she said it was like an evil, like Christmas in reverse for those 12 weeks in Rwanda when that was going on. And so prior to that, before the day of reckoning, it was when you would go down the street and you would hear them saying, they'd come up to you. So if you're in Mexico, they would say, do you want niñas, you want mujeres, women. And the cigars would have tried to find, but when you go down to Colombia, they would be like, you want mujeres, women, and then they would say, you want niñas, little boys, little girls. So you got to see like that. And then when they were doing the film, they were running operations down there while we were there. Tim also, there's a gal, the villain in the film, she's a real character. She was out of prison at that time. And so you got pressure from the people to arrest, and then the ones on the inside, and I'm sure from the world that's involved in this, because I think it goes all the way to Planned Parenthood, the jugs of plastic containers they use the children. I think those go to the biolabs. And I should say that I know they do that. They send them to places like that all over the world. These biolabs, I think this is part of the whole business. What do they do with them in the biolabs when they receive them?
Well, either making or they're using it to, from what I was told, is that, and also for making agents to, kill people with it. So, if I'm a half Irish, half Swiss, they can get my DNA code and create a cocktail, put it off in an airplane, and I'm the only one that dies of a heart attack in the plane. And then you watch a James Bond movie, and you go, boy, that's really weird. So.
Wow.
Again, this is way, way ahead of the public narrative. But, I talked to this is not something where it's suggested to me that this is probably why this world cabal is involved in all of this stuff. And it has a lot to do with the blood of our children. The public is now awakening to the trafficking, but eventually leads you to other places like Epstein Island. And in this film, We showed it to about 1,500 people in Las Vegas. And during a certain part of the film, they were all talking in the audience. There was like 5 showings every single time, talking. So at the end of it all, I thanked them all for coming, and then I said, why, during this part, you were talking? And they all yelled out, Epstein Island. And I said, now I understand why they don't want this to be seen.
That's heavy.
It's listed in the NIH. Organ harvesting is another whole. That's when the whole thing went off with me with Tim Ballard, when he started talking to me about that. But again, I'm here to. We don't go into that in the film. The film is phenomenal. I probably just chased away millions of people from wanting to watch this movie.
No, you didn't.
The film, the film is like It's a Wonderful Life. It's what? This is about what and how? Yeah, I know. What does this have to do with the D in China? It is, if you weren't around Tim Ballard, none of these children are going to live. And as hard as it has been for him, he was willing to take it in the heart for Jesus. And King David, when David was a boy, same thing. And I was the same thing. And God doesn't make junk, but he can use things that you've been through in your past. And he can take you to a level that it's supernatural. It's just no way to explain it. I was the best I ever was on that movie because I was unafraid. And that love is the greatest in its form, highest form, is the best you'll ever be if you get to that place that you give your life and I'd give my life for these kids. That's what it did.
We're not chasing anybody away with this audience. We had spoke about, I just did an episode with this guy, Ryan Montgomery, who's an ethical hacker, and he's unveiling. He weighs about 85 pounds, and he's going after these guys by himself. Now he's moving into other organizations, and it was the fastest growing episode that I've ever had. And that's saying a lot because we've had some really big ones. And this kid came out of nowhere. He's got, how do I say this? He doesn't have a lot of clout around him. Nobody's ever heard of him. And it just sparked the interest of everybody. And with this film, do you think this film is going to bring truth, but also educate kids, parents on how this is happening, where it starts, and put the fear into people, into pedophiles and predators that are targeting these children?
I don't know. I was reading this thing, and I would absolutely say it's 100% the truth. They will never be able to walk down the street again. That's coming, without a doubt, and it will be a great day. This needs to be done. This is the worst time in the history of all humanity right now we're living in. You know, when you read biblical times, we're 8.5 billion people on this earth. Biblical times, not that many people, but when you read Moses, they killed the babies. During the time of Jesus, Herod, they killed the babies. They tried to annihilate them. It's the same thing, same devil. And this is going to end. I know it, but whether I live, that I would give my life to make this end. And that's where I'm completely connected to Tim in this role. And King David, or David, is the 16-year-old. And that, you know, God could come to us and, you know, be from small towns and just say, you know, all you got to do is cry out to God and ask him, what's my purpose in this life? And certainly it can't be one of being afraid, and to trust Jesus that he's got you, man. You know, I know that a lot of people out there right now have recently had to, my dear friends who committed suicide, and a lot of people want to know, you know, if God loves them or not. I heard this a long time ago, and it goes, your name may not appear down here in this World's Hall of Fame. In fact, you may be so unknown that no one knows your name. The Oscars and the praise of men may never come your way, but don't forget, God has rewards that he'll hand out someday. This crowd on earth, they will soon forget when you're not at the top. They'll cheer like mad until you fall, and then their praise will stop. Not God, he never does forget. And in his Hall of Fame, by just believing on his Son, forever there's your name. I tell you, friend, I wouldn't trade my name, however small, that's written there beyond the stars in that celestial hall, for all the famous names on earth or the glory that they share. I'd rather be an unknown here and have my name up there.
Thank you for saying that. When is this coming out?
4th of July.
We'll link everything below. It's a heavy topic.
You know, the things we talked about can all be verified. So all you fact checkers out there, you know, these fact checkers, you go to college for that, get a master's degree in fact checking. You know, don't public stop falling for this fact checking stuff. They need to meet my fact checkers. One of them, you know, and we mentioned him earlier. You know, verify all the stuff that I've told you. So those guys, they should be terrified of those guys.
Fact checking's turned into suppression.
Yes, it is. Bingo.
Do you think you'll continue this fight with the children after this film's released?
Oh, I'll never stop. Because of my own children, my own adopted children, I was very aware of the dangers and the pains I've gone through on a global scale, just through the adoption agencies and everything. You know, this is you have to verify people when they come in and, you know, oh, we help save children. Pfft. A lot of these guys are honeypotters. They come in and they're wolves in sheep clothing. So, and they're not there to save the children. They're there to take the children, make money off them.
I think we need to get Tim Ballard in here.
Yeah.
Talk to him as well. What's next for you, Jim? I know you have
Resurrection. I would think so, or Sound of Freedom too. But as far as the industry, you know, it's a different thing now, because, you know, if you want to win an Academy Award, you know, you have to have an L, a G, a B, a T, a Q, plus something, and that just it's insane. Some of the greatest films of all time would never qualify for the Academy anymore.
Well, I think the clout of all those awards is diminishing very rapidly.
Yes.
Amongst the public, and we're seeing that.
Oh,
with
it's
everything.
coming out. People are. I mean, look at Buddy Light, man. I used to drink that all the time. I'll drink regular water or my own piss before I touch that.
Good for you. The resurrection.
Yeah.
When does that start? Is it started?
Yeah. Oh, the writing. Yes. I know. I asked him, "Would you be ready to go in January?" He said, "Yeah, maybe." So how about the end of the fall? He goes, "Yeah, maybe." September? I said, "Yeah, maybe." He's so funny because last time he did that, I said, "Okay, well, won't be till January," and then all of a sudden I get the call, "Hey, you ready?" And we went in September, October. So who knows? I know he's working on that right now. He's doing a movie with Wahlberg, so he's finishing that. But he's been on this for a long, long time, and then it will be the biggest film in history. It might be 2 films, could be 3, but I think it's 2.
I can't wait. I cannot wait for that. And then you have another project coming out as well. Sounds like it's going to be a 4-part docuseries, if I'm correct.
That's Tim's. They haven't come to me for that yet.
Okay.
But, yeah. But they wrote the second Sound of Freedom, and that's even better script than the first. The first is pretty darn good. So there's that.
Can I ask what that's about?
The second one?
Yes.
Haiti.
It's about Haiti.
Yep.
Why is Haiti specifically?
Because he went down there and did that operation down there. So it's just like, it's not so much Sound of Freedom 2. Okay, it's just, this is the next mission that he did.
Okay. Okay, so this is gonna keep going.
Yeah, well, based on the success of this film, the people love it enough, the demand's there, the screenplay is there. I mean, it always is the screenplay, everything, yeah, at the level of it. And then at that point, it's a lot of prayer, and these aren't easy. I don't get the easy ones.
Yeah.
Learning Aramaic was crazy hard.
How do you manage all this personally? I mean, you're taking on a lot of weight covering this type of, or being a part of this type of a topic with sex trafficking.
I have nowhere else to go. This is where I go back to the movie theater. It was like, take the ones I give you, okay. You know, but I didn't know I could do this. I just believe in him. Before I even believe in myself, I believe in him. And if he says I can do it, I know I can, because he says it. It's the difference between actors that I work with that are phenomenal. They think the talent came from them. Mine came from God. Now, I'll boast in my talent from God any day. I'm not afraid of any actor in the world. But again, it keeps me simple, in just, it keeps me away from getting too haughty-taughty and just being ready, to. Humility is Mother Teresa said humility comes from humiliation. So when I get humiliated, and the last 2 years on the quite humiliating, but I knew one day the truth is coming, and it's coming. So, and as I said, I'm not the easiest guy to love. My wife will tell you that, but I am loved, and I've got
my children that I love, and they love me, you know. So I've got a good thing there.
There are rumors out that you and Mel Gibson are going to come together to expose some of the stuff that's going on in Hollywood. Is there truth to that?
Not really.
Okay.
I think what you're seeing right now is, you know, he did his part, I'm doing mine.
I'm glad you're doing it. Nobody else is going to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Jim, I just want to say it was a real honor to have you in here today, and I appreciate the conversation and the time, and most of all, thank you for being a good role model and somebody that kids can look up to, adults can look up to, and find some solid direction.
Can I say something to your audience?
Absolutely.
Mila thioloko marehe mahaki hita. Hita hiwu tina letina kokavel tiana afeif lakom. Antun hita hiwu lakom. My commandment to you is this: you love one another as I have loved you. So you love one another. God love you. Thank you.
Amen.
This is to all of the agents that are out there that are very well aware of what's going on with the children, that know a lot, and that are scared from coming forward. You know, I saw, I did the Passion of the Christ, and when the movie was over, 2 people that had committed murder came forward and turned themselves in. That was how powerful that film is. This one has the reverse. You watch it, you feel God's love and the power in this movie, Sound of Freedom, and it makes you unafraid. I was willing to come forward and speak truthfully on things like organ harvesting, and was severely reprimanded by much of the media, and they claimed their fact checkers knew more, but they don't know like you guys know. I put you up against them anytime, and so, but it was a burden that I was no longer burdened with anymore. My career I would never put in front of the children. And I just ask you to look in your heart, to go to the film Sound of Freedom, which is a phenomenal movie which represents you, and let that be your word against what these liars have done for a long, long time. Your word, which is from God, and to speak the truth to the American people. My prayers are with you. I love you guys. Thank you for all the help that you gave me.